Hare Krišna. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I today found out I'm doing class today, so I will do my best. Please, blessings from all the all exalted Vaishnavas here, so I can just repeat something that is relevant to us all. Okay. So can I can do it in English here, right? Yeah. Okay. Do we have Gita in English here? Is this in English? Okay, perfect. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are on the last verses of this chapter, chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness, verses 26, 27. No, 27, 28. Yeah, okay. Sparshan kritva bahir vayamsh. Sparshan kritva bahir vayamsh. Chakshu chaivantare bhruvoho. Chakshushchaivantare bhuvoham. Pranapanau samau kritvam. Pranapanau samau kritvam. Nasabhyantara charinau. Nasabhyantara charinau. Yatendriya mano buddhir. Yatendriya mano buddhir. Munir moksha parayanaha. Muni moksha parayanaha. Vigate cha bhaya krodo. Vigate cha bhaya krodo. Yasada mukha eva saha. Yasada mukha eva saha Sparshan kritva bahir bhayamsh Chakshur chaivantare bhruvoham Pranapanau samau kritva Nasabhyantara charinau Yatendriya manobudhir Munir moksha parayana Vigate cha bhaya krodo Yasada mukta eva saha
Sparshan kritva bahir bhayam
Sparshan kritva bahir bhayam
Chakshushchaivantare bhruvo
Chakshushchaivantare bhruvo
Pranapanav samokritva
Pranapanav samokritva
Nasabhyantara charino
Nasabhyantara charino
Yatendriya manobudhir
Yatendriya manobudhir
Moksha parayana
Muni moksha parayana
Vigate cha bhaya krodo
Vigate cha bhaya krodo
Yasada mukta eva saha
Yasada mukta eva saha
One more maybe?
Sparshan kritva bhukirvayam
Sparshan kritva
Chakshushchaivantare bhruvo
Chakshushchaivantare bhruvo
Pranapanav samokritva
Pranapanav samokritva
Nasabhyantara charina
Nasabhyantara charino
Yatendriya manobudhir
Yatendriya manobudhir
Munir moksha parayana
Muni moksha parayana
Vigate cha bhaya krodo
Vigate cha bhaya krodo
Sada mukta eva sa
Yasada mukta eva sa.
Like this? Okay. Word by word. Sparshan,
Sparshan
sense objects, such as sound. Kritva, keeping. Bahihi, external. Bahyan, unnecessary. Maharaj, you can also correct me if I'm doing something wrong. Chakshuhu, eyes. Cha, also. Eva, certainly. Antare, between. Bhruvohom, the eyebrows. Prana apanau, up and down moving air. Samau, in suspension. Kritva, keeping. Nasa abhyantara, within the nostrils. Charinau, blowing. Yatha, controlled. Indriya, senses. Manaha, mind. Buddhihi, intelligence. Munihi, the transcendentalist. Moksha, for liberation. Parayanaha, being so destined. Vigata, having discarded. Icha, wishes. Bhaya, fear. Krodhaha, anger. Yaha, one who. Sada, always. Muktaha, liberated. Eva, certainly. Saha, he is. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inwards and outwards breath within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. Purport. Being engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand one's spiritual identity, and then one can understand the Supreme Lord by means of devotional service. When one is well situated in devotional service, one comes to the transcendental position, qualified to feel the presence of the Lord in the sphere of one's activity. This particular position is called liberation in the Supreme. After explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, the Lord gives instructions to Arjuna how one can come to that position by the practice of the mysticism or yoga known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divided into the eightfold procedure called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. In the 6th chapter, the subject of yoga is explicitly detailed, and at the end of the 5th, it is only preliminary explained. One has to drive out the sense objects such as sound, touch, form, taste, and smell by the Pratyahara process in yoga, and then keep the vision of the eye between the two eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose with half-closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether, because then there is every chance of falling asleep. Nor is there benefit in opening the eyes completely, because then there is the hazard of being attracted by sense objects. The breathing movement is restrained within the nostrils by neutralizing the up-moving and down-moving air within the body. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, retrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in the Supreme. This yoga process helps one become free from all kinds of fear and anger, and thus feel the presence of the Super Soul in the transcendental situation. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of executing yoga's principles. This will be thoroughly explained in the next chapter. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing his senses to some other engagement. This is a better way of controlling the senses than by the Ashtanga Yoga. Sparsha kriktva bahirbayam chakshushchaivantare bruvoho pranapanao samao kritva nasabyantara charinao yatendriya manobuddhir muni moksha parayanaha vigate cha bhayakrodo yasada mukha eva saha. Shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breath within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshu Umbilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Monobhishtam Saptam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadan Mayam Dadanti Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakagana Ragunatam Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dindabhanu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tamta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebho Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Varcharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatte Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I have to say it's almost impossible to say something worthwhile after having such a nice classes of Maharaj, and especially be in front of him, but I will try to repeat something from here. So, in this verse, one of the last verses, the whole chapter is speaking about Krishna consciousness, karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. In the last 6-7 verses, speakers were speaking a lot about these trends, about this transcendental position, sometimes called Brahma-bhuta, someone's called Brahma Nirvana. Having been fixed in Krishna consciousness, understanding our spiritual position, I guess maybe not specific one, but maybe just that we are not these bodies and we are souls at least. We are engaged in the service of the Lord. And Prabhupada is actually preparing us for the next chapter, which is the 6th chapter, speaking about Dhyana Yoga. This is speaking about how to attain liberation, transcendental position through mystical Ashtanga Yoga. Prabhupada in the purport of the last verse mentions that speculators, jnanis, can ask, okay, why this karma yoga? How can this karma yoga bring to liberation? How can activities any activities, karmic activities, can actually bring in liberation? But the thing is that this is not any activities. These are activities in Krishna consciousness. It's actually seva to Krishna. So what does this actually do? Liberation in Supreme by Bhakti. So these are like two comparisons between being liberated in the Supreme by the Bhakti process and by Ashtanga Yoga. By Bhakti, by engaging in Krishna consciousness properly, with the mind, senses, intelligence, Prabhupada said, immediately understand one's spiritual identity. Wow, I'm really encouraged when I hear this immediately. And I'm not sure for myself, maybe I'm not fully still practicing. I cannot say for myself, engage in full Krishna consciousness. But I guess if you actually really practice it properly, you really immediately come to that position. By devotional, and then what happens? When you engage in Krishna consciousness, by this devotional service, you understand the Supreme. So Krishna reveals ourselves by devotional service. It is His will that He presents ourselves, that He reveals Himself to us again. And He does this because we are actually trying to serve Him again, come to our position of not trying to lord it and enjoy, but try to serve Him and please Him. And when we are established in this service attitude, as we were mentioning in the Srimad Bhagavatam class, about Nasta Prayashabha Dashanitya Bhagavad Seva Bhagavad Tamashloke Bhaktivati Naishtiki, when we are eagerly listening and getting purified, we actually get engaged in devotional service and get fixed in devotional service. So it says when we are well established in devotional service, well established means we are constantly doing devotional service. We are not doing anything else. Well established. That is already being transcendental position. And that we qualified to feel the presence of the Lord in the sphere of our activities. Amazing. Amazing. So we feel the presence of the Lord. Many times in these verses, it is mentioned how we can, even if we are in the material world, we can actually already act in a spiritual level, which is amazing. And this is actually the goal, because I think that Maharaj also mentioned that if Krishna opens the spiritual world and said, come on, jump in, and we'll be like, something will be stopping us. Sorry, like gopis. Like the gopis were called for rasa dance, and there were a few of them, they just hesitated for a moment and opened the door closed. And they at least then those, it was some written that mentioned that they gave their bodies or something. But they were not fully pure. So in the same sense, we are maybe still not purely full, even though if we actually see a portal to the spiritual world, maybe not jump inside because we are actually still hesitant. Something will pull us back, some desires concept. And in the previous verses, it was mentioned how when we are actually practicing Krishna consciousness, this Krishna consciousness is like antiseptic measure, which is really interesting. And I found in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the third canto, 23rd chapter, 32nd verse, how this antiseptic methodology actually works. So the whole paragraph says, the material world or material existence life is filled with threefold miseries. Misery obtaining by the body and mind, misery pertaining of natural disturbances, and misery inflicted by other living entities. Human society is meant to create a spiritual atmosphere by spreading the spirit of Krishna consciousness. The miseries of material existence cannot affect the status of Krishna consciousness. And now the best part. It is not that the miseries of the material world completely vanishes when one takes to Krishna consciousness. So let's not deceive ourselves. But for one who is Krishna conscious, the miseries of material existence have no effect. We cannot stop the miseries of the material atmosphere, but Krishna consciousness is the antiseptic method to protect us from being affected by the miseries of material existence. For a Krishna conscious person, both living in heaven or living in hell are equal. So in a sense, the reason why we took up Krishna consciousness is because we understood that we are suffering. We want to get liberated from the suffering. We don't want to actually, we want to enjoy. And the only way to enjoy actually is to come to our natural position. This chapter is speaking about devotional service. This is actually the essence of that. But the Jnanis do not understand that. They think that it's just some karma kanda, karma yoga. That how can this come to transcendental realization? But when we are serving the Lord in devotional service, He reveals Himself to us and He gives us the knowledge how to understand it. So we come to the same platform as the Jnanis who are trying to understand the Lord, even though the Jnanis have to also satisfy the Lord to get that knowledge. Being always engaged in devotional service does not risk losing the senses of some other engagement. Many times we heard about the Munis, many really perfected sages who had really profound in their devotionals, in their practice, really profound, really expert, and because they were not depending on the Lord and they didn't engage in devotional service. Just one mistake or one sense impulse make them to totally fall down from their practices, thousands of years of wasted time. And it's mentioned here as well that Ashtanga Yoga automatically practiced in Bhakti Yoga. Because the ultimate purpose is served, we get the same result, and actually the perfection you get from Ashtanga Yoga is preface to the Bhakti Yoga. If somebody thinks that Bhakti Yoga is hard, then why did you try Ashtanga Yoga? Maybe it would be easier for you. Yeah? So you can try if you want. Everybody close their eyes, half close. Focus on your eyebrows. And now restrain your breathing. Come on, restrain your breathing. You're still breathing, Prabhu. Come on, inside, either inside through outside. Regulate it. Prabhu, you will never be Ashtanga Yogi, I'm sorry. You can try Bhakti Yoga. You can try Bhakti Yoga. I think it's almost impossible. Almost impossible for us. And the control of the senses we get from that is artificial. It is actually in the really shallow waters. So we should be grateful, and also really, it's interesting that usually people who are really, you have lots of these yoga groups, lots of these ways of perfecting, and many of those people are really serious in their practice. But it seems like we take Bhakti Yoga for granted because it's dancing, feasting, seems like easy. But we don't understand that this is, Prabhupada just made it easy for us, but it is actually really serious practice. So in a sense, we are so happy to have these books, to have this understanding. Prabhupada, through every chapter, is establishing the superiority of devotional service and how is it connected to any other process, and that actually you cannot perfect any of the process without devotional service to the Lord. And today I heard one interesting thing about material and spiritual energies. Interestingly. That actually, is it possible that something is material, in a sense? That the only thing what makes something material is our attempt to enjoy it, control it. But immediately, if that same energy is used in the proper situation, in the proper situation of serving Krishna, it is automatically spiritual. So, everything comes from Krishna, we come from Krishna, this energy comes from Krishna, Shakti comes, all the energies, all material, everything spiritual, everything comes from Krishna. Krishna manifests us. So it's like Krishna playing with himself constantly. Krishna is playing with himself. I think I read somewhere that when Krishna is dancing rasa dance, that it's like analogy of the acharyas are like, it's not like, it's like a boy playing with his shadow. Not exactly, but in the analogy that it's the Shaktiman playing with his Shakti, in a sense. But it's interesting that in my contaminated state, how much in this materially contaminated state we think we can enjoy something that is not ours. This is really interesting how powerful Maya is to make us put us in such an unnatural state that we try to enjoy something that is not ours, and it actually doesn't have anything to do with us. To try to enjoy Krishna's energies. And this is our disease, trying to do it, and we are getting poisoned more and more trying to do it, and we are getting no peace of mind. So anyway, I would stop here, if it's okay, and if comments, questions, and corrections, or anything in this regard. Or would like to add something, Maharaj? Maybe? Okay. Thank you. So, thank you very much. Bhagavad-gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gora Pravanande, Hari Hari Bo, Jikala Patrubhishya, Kripasin Vyachapatana Pavla Vaishnava Namaha.
Yeah, that's